Now coming to the GS2 part, GS3 part. Now this is done. Now this is GS3 questions from disaster management. Okay, so if you see the question paper questions, see what they're asking. They are mostly focusing on area that you would focus, means what they're asking, measures you will take. Second, mechanism for preparedness. Again, what they're asking, measures. So they can change, sometime drought, right? Sometime normal disasters, frequency of earthquake preparedness. Sometimes they have asked like gap, because it's what, management. How you manage as an administrator if any disaster has taken place. Now, if management is there, there might be challenges. As an administrator, we might face the challenges like fund problem, human resource problem, lack of proper use of the different funds might be the problem. So sometimes they have asked the gaps. Sometimes they can ask like the critically examine the preparedness of India to tackle the floods. If they ask that, we need to write what initiatives and the what positive things they have done and what are the gaps existing in the present framework of preparedness. Or if we are proposing some solutions, what gaps are there or what challenges we might face while implementing them. That can be the question. So the next thing is that gaps can be identified. That is the challenges we might face in implementation of different measures. Can be the another type. Now the other also, without any exception, here also reasons they have asked. Like they asked in GS1, here also they have asked the reasons for the urban floods. Next they have asked mechanism for preparedness. Again what? What? Measures. Here also measures to be adopted. This is also similar. Measures. Factors responsible for occurrence of the tsunami. Causes. Describe the mechanisms for preparedness. Measures. Here measures taken. This is the next type of question they have asked here. What measure government have already taken? This part we have to include also, because this also helps in value addition as well as the writing some conclusion. Government initiative under NDMA can help us to tackle the problem. Like that we can conclude. So that also important. These two questions, 8 and 9, these are basically some general questions which I didn't find any pattern in these two questions. Like vulnerability is an essential element of defining disaster management. Here they are not asking on particular disaster. Here they have talked about particularly vulnerability. When we cover the disaster management, we start with the hazard vulnerability. Every hazard need not to be disaster, that we learn. Every hazard, if it is happening, until and unless it doesn't have the significant impact, and human being cannot cope with that disaster, that hazard, without any external assistance, then only we call it as disaster. Means, suppose any disaster has, drought can also happen. Now water is not available here, let's say. It doesn't become, the lack of availability of water doesn't become disaster until there is requirement of external assistance to cope with the situation. Many times water is less, rainfall is less in the field for the farmers. Does it mean that every time low rainfall means the disaster? No. If the farmers are able to cope with that situation with their sustainability, very little decline in the water level or little decline in the rainfall, you don't call it as disaster. Disaster we call when we are not able to cope or not able to adjust to that particular situation without any external intervention. Okay, now they have asked about that concept, basically how a particular place becomes vulnerable. Okay, so that is a very important. See, next is disaster preparedness is the first step in any disaster management process. Explain how hazard zonation mapping will help disaster mitigation in the case of landslide. Here they specifically ask, this is one of the measures we make. hazard zonation, a non-structural measure we make. However, in this particular question in 2019, they specifically ask how this particular thing, hazard zonation mapping, helps in mitigation of landslide. Now, this also the pattern doesn't allow us to do that. So, such kind of the unusual or the exceptional question can be asked by the UPSC, but still more or less till 2025, our pattern can be identified. Occasionally, 2 times they have deviated from the pattern of asking the causes, mitigation measures, the measures, actions taken, challenges. Beyond that, they went to some other extent, like this question also, 13th. Explain the mechanism of occurrence of cloud burst in the context of Indian. Here what they ask, how it happens, the process. This is more GS1. That's why I ask my students to study the geography and disaster management together, as well as the environment and ecology. Because here they are asking, linking with the climate change, linking with mangroves, linking with the your corals, which are the topic from environment, corals, mangroves, climate change. But they are linking here with the geography. And that's why when and here you clearly saw the questions from the GS1, you saw the questions from the GS3. Do you see the segregation? Very rare. Here also they are asking the causes. There also they are asking the mitigations. So now a student who is preparing the disaster management and the disaster from the GS1 separately, then there will be the overlapping of the same preparation for the same topic. So better to prepare one node where you prepare the different disasters, considering this all aspect. Now let's come to the our notes making. We understood this part from the disaster of GS1. Now disaster management, here what they are asking is the management of disaster. Now here also we can have the different type of question we have observed. One is that the most important thing they are asking is the measures. Measures to be taken. Which measure you should take? Second, they are asking measures taken. Please be careful. What measure already been taken? What measure to be taken can be asked. Getting? Next thing what they are asking? Again, 2 things more. Either they are asking causes and the consequences also. And the next factor is the criticality issues. So here one more thing is they are asking is the challenges in management. Challenges in management. Gaps, yes, very good. Yeah, challenges in management. Then you should also, you have seen the causes they are asking, and we should prepare the consequences also. Okay, so these are the different ways questions are being asked from the disaster management topic. As we see, the causes, impact, measures. Causes, impact, measures. So this proves that we should prepare GS1 and GS3 disasters part together. Okay, so same thing here also. Here also we need to make the map. But here one more thing we need to prepare. I hope you must have prepared that. That is the cycle of disaster. There is cycle of disaster. Cycle of disaster management. Disaster management. We know the first disaster take place, and then there will be response, rescue, and then the rehabilitation. There is one cycle, right? That cycle we need to draw in the disaster management. Okay, whenever it is getting asked. Along with that, the diagram and locations will be the common. Here, some keywords are also important here. Some keywords are also we need to prepare. Keywords. Certain keywords are required, like preparedness, resilience, disaster resilience. You have the zonation, you have the early warning system. These are certain keywords which should be reflected in our answer in order to write the disaster questions.